And happy Wednesday to the world out there. Gentlemen, happy podcasting day.
Good day.
Always with the accent, Zeb. I love it.
I don't know why.
Because it's like the perfect time. It's simple, short. People are like, wait a minute, what's going on over there? Trickery.
Good eye.
You know what it's like? It's like a Shane Waldron motion play when we've got D. Eskridge. But sadly, we're not going to have him for another week. He's already been rolled out. I don't know if you caught that today, but that, Thursday night football, man.
Like, how can you have a month-long concussion? That dude probably is going to have to retire.
Yeah, it's a bad look for one Mr. D. Eskridge, but the positive news is one Mr. Gerald Everett keeps testing negative for COVID-19, so he might be able to play tomorrow, which will be a welcome addition.
That's good. That's
yeah,
good.
But I don't want to let Eskridge off that side. I mean, it's not his fault. It's admirable as we're required to say that the NFL is paying so much more attention to concussions, but he missed a lot of the offseason with injury. Then he comes in his first game, gets a concussion, and that concussion has now lasted a month, dude.
Yeah.
It's not. Are we looking at Penny the second?
Jesus.
Oof. I mean, Penny is like a whole nother beast when it comes to his injuries and availability. Penny's kind of like CJ Pro size, where it's like, wow, you flash this one great game and everyone's waiting for that next one, but it just never comes because you're never able to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but to me, Eskridge feels like that's the career path he's heading towards already, man.
I mean, I think it's fair to question that, why isn't this guy available? Is there something else that they're dealing with and they just don't want to share? I think that's very much a possibility.
I mean, there's not much you can't. I mean, it's the concussion, right? And you can have lasting concussion symptoms, but here's the thing: after every concussion, the next one has a higher chance to be bad.
Right.
And this is his first concussion that we know of. I mean, he's played football. I'm sure he's had more, but this is his first diagnosed concussion, so it potentially only gets worse from here. Who was that Washington football team tight end who used to always have concussions for 3 to 4 weeks?
Is it Coolidge?
No, 1 2.
Reed?
No. Reed.
Sure,
Reed would have concussions, right? He'd get a concussion in week 2, and he would be out till week 6, and he would have 2 concussions a year. So basically, he would miss half a year every year because he'd have 2 concussions a year.
You know what? I quickly want to give a shout out to the NFL for coming up with better IR rules. So instead of just people being shut out for the entire year, people can come off of the IR now, which I think is amazing because roster spots are such a premium in the NFL. Being able to add people to the roster that can play has been really beneficial. So quick shout out to the NFL, probably the only one they'll get in the history of this podcast.
Go NFL, make a couple other good decisions and get another shout out.
Yeah, for real. We kind of started with the downer. I mean, we just came off a great win against our quote unquote rivals. Zeb, very, very calmly and confidently pointing out that we dominate this team, and it showed. I was pleasantly surprised. I did not pick the Seahawks to win just because I had questions about the defense, but Zeb is the only one that predicted the Seahawks to win that game, and when they did, I was very happy.
For some reason, even when the 49ers seem like the better team, we still get the best of them. I mean, obviously this past game, there was some pretty significant reasons why they weren't able to play up to their ability, but this just seems to be the way it works out for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time arguing against that, but we'll talk a little bit more about it in the topic. But I do want to mention just that game was so weird. It the way it opened, the way that it finished, what happened in the middle, what happened in like the last two possessions for the Niners, it was just a weird game.
Yeah, it's hard to remember starting so ugly. I mean, I know we kind of have gotten used to the slow starts, and then the miracle finishes, but like that game had the look of an avalanche we were going to get stomped out, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it's weird. They started with 5 straight 3-and-outs, which is really unheard of. I mean, I know we finished the Minnesota game not doing much of anything, and that felt like we just went 3-and-out for the second half, but that's not what happened. And everything they tried to do, it looked like it was going to be just like a complete beatdown. So I'm glad they turned it around. I'm glad they made the right adjustments, but man, you would not have known that game started 5 straight 3-and-outs to open their game, especially the way that the Niners defense was playing. They were playing really, really aggressive and did everything they could to sniff everything out. It looked like it was going to be a long day. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of positives, obviously, that came out. Shout out to Quandre Diggs. He got the first turnover, their first interception for the Seahawks in Game 4.
And it was like a legit type of interception, the type of interception you want to be able to manufacture. It wasn't just like some dude randomly overthrew the ball by 10 yards and the free safety is sitting back there. Like, he read the play, broke on the ball. That's the kind of interception we haven't had for a long time.
Ross, as a former safety, how did you feel about that interception? Give us a little bit more.
I mean, that's just the kind of play you want to see, right? That's the kind of play. I mean, just you want to see that out of any position. Like, that's the kind of play you want cornerbacks actually to make. We've had in the past the cornerbacks who sometimes even will play lame almost, like suck them in a little bit, like you want defensive backs who have the ability to break that fast on a ball, who've got deceptive speed, who can read a play and diagnose it, who can bait quarterbacks into stuff. And we have Trey Flowers. I don't want to beat up that dude even anymore, but he's the exact opposite of that.
Beat that horse, Ross.
I'm just saying, Trey Flowers. I always feel like actually, if Trey Flowers were traded and for a 7th rounder and went to a team and played safety, he'd be fine. He'd be like a Bradley McDougall type. I think just makes everybody because he'd get his confidence
clean up.
Back.
Trey Flowers is a decent tackler. He could clean up for sure.
When he's playing with confidence, he can tackle. But what we've really needed and what we really, really, really desperately have to have is that type of interception where you break on the ball, where you bait them in, you read the play, and they don't see you and you play. And it's modern NFL quarterbacks are really, really good at avoiding the interception. It used to be that people threw more interceptions than touchdowns, and that was normal. But now they're hard to come by. So because quarterbacks have gotten smarter, play calling's gotten smarter, more efficient, more boring. But anyway, yeah, you just got to have the guy who's talented enough to bait and who's talented enough to diagnose. And defensive coordinators can help. And this is also probably where the line play comes in that I was talking about. You got to have the line giving the pressure, so the quarterback has to make that decision a little bit faster. He's just got a microsecond less to notice the coverage, right? Because on the interception, there was pressure coming from both sides. He wasn't about to get there, but it affected the timing of his throw.
Do you feel that Jimmy G was on his way, if not for his injury, to throw multiple interceptions in the game? That's what I feel like a lot of people were saying. Jimmy G was going to throw 3 picks that game based upon how he was throwing in the first half.
Maybe, but I don't know if the defense would take advantage. I mean, we've seen Seahawks defense in the last 2 or 3 years where the offensive quarterback, what other quarterback is there, Ross? We've seen where quarterbacks throw in what should be 3, 4, 5 picks, right? I mean, but it ends up being 1 or 2 because either our dudes have hands of stone. Didn't Jamal Adams drop interceptions a lot last year and this year?
Jamal had at least 3 dropped interceptions. He had one in the Jets game where it hit him straight in the chest, and it just kind of bounced off of him. He just wasn't expecting it.
So I mean, you got to work a little bit with the jugs machine, I guess there. But
yeah, I want to talk really quickly about the defense. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but specifically, Did you think that Jamal Adams had a good, okay, or a bad game? Like, just gut reaction.
Zeb?
I felt like he had a pretty good game.
Ross?
Without watching the all 22.
Yeah. Ross, what about you? Like, if you just gut reaction, like what you remember of that game, did you good, bad, negative?
I thought he was fine.
Fine.
He was
okay.
fine.
I think that's fair. I thought he played well. The fact that we didn't see him, I think there's concern because you want your playmaker to be there. He had a great pass deflection. He broke up a touchdown pass to Kittle. We'll talk about that play that led to the big touchdown, but I was happy with how the defense played overall. I think if anything impacted the defense negatively, it was the referees that were just not willing to call a holding call on that last drive for San Francisco. Yeah. I don't know what Carlos Dunlap could have done better on those snaps, but they were just mugging him. And Mark Schlereth, the color commentator, he's a former offensive lineman. It was like, oh yeah, great pass blocking. Oh, he's just doing the right thing. It's like, dude, like he had Carlos Dunlap around the neck, turned around, tugging on his jersey, and it was so terrible. I hope Pete Carroll was given the rest like an earful after the game. But yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah. Glaringly obvious.
Yeah. It was frustrating so. But, the Seahawks leveled their record to a glorious 2-2 after defeating two QBs of the rival Niners. It's a short week as the Seahawks pivot to the LA Rams for Thursday Night Football in their action green jerseys. We got feelings about those, I'm sure. The defense made some improvements, but there are still some legit questions on if this was a mirage, and the offense dominated the last two-thirds of that game, but before that, it looked pretty sad. The defense did change things up with the appearance of cornerback Sidney Jones and safety Ryan Neal. With the rival Rams in town, can the Seahawks continue their Thursday night dominance, or will these Stafford-led Rams teams show they deserve to be the preseason favorite for the NFC West? This is a HawksTest.net podcast, and Zeb, we're going to just jump into topic number one. I want to know, what is the bigger mirage? The defense coming up with turnovers, or the offense scoring in the second half?
Unfortunately, I think not that there's a good answer to this question, but I think it's the defense coming up with turnovers. We know this offense can score. So they've struggled in the second half this year a bit, but we know this offense well, and we know they can put up points. It's never really been that big of an issue with this team. So I like getting the turnovers. That's fantastic. Hopefully they can keep it up. But we're going to have to see it for more than one game for me to buy in, to think that it's something that can become a strength of this defense. And we know we need it to be. That's something that we need. Obviously, this is kind of a bend, don't break defense that has been breaking. So we need them to tighten that up. And turnovers are the best way to change the momentum of a game. So I'm going to need to see a few more games with a few turnovers to believe that it's going to become one of our strengths.
I think that's fair. Any surprises, though, whether it was the offense scoring or the defense playing a little bit stouter maybe, or getting those turnovers? Anything that was more of a surprise for you?
Not really. I just, based on the circumstances of the game, I guess the biggest surprise was just being the offense being able to become not being dominated anymore, because like you said, them first 4 or 5 drives, it was like the Niners defense was so active and fast, and it looked like they had an answer for everything we tried to do. So the fact that we were able to get that turned around, I guess we call that a surprise. Jimmy G throwing interceptions isn't something crazy or unheard of. So, but it's good that we were able to at least get that one.
Ross, what about you? You looking at this defense playing stouter, creating turnovers, offense scoring in the second half, 2 big question marks going into the season. What's a bigger mirage to you?
at this point, the defense causing the turnovers is because, I mean, we just talked about that one. That one seemed legit, but at the same time, there's a certain argument out there that says certain types of turnovers essentially are random. And some people say, like, for example, this year we're not going to be good because last year we should have been even worse. It was just the random turnovers early in the season when we were playing historically bad helped us. Like, some fumbles you cause, some fumbles like the other guy just messes up. Sometimes it's a combination, but if you regress towards the mean, you're not going to have any. So we got an interception. Is that a trend or is that, odds? We hadn't had an interception in the first 3 games. I mean, we're still on pace for 4.25 for the year. That's not great. It's not like we came away with a bucket full of them. So I kind of like what Zeb said. Like, I need to see that again. This game will be interesting because Stafford will give you some. He's not like, that's one of his things. He's not like a Goff, but he'll give you some. He'll give you an interception here and there if you're playing decent defense. He's a little bit of a gunslinger. He likes to throw it out. He's so anyway, there's going to be opportunity most likely. So is this a game where if we get, if we come away with a fumble and an interception, or if we can get 2 turnovers this game, first, obviously we're going to win most likely because that's so many more offensive chances and fewer for them. But also, it'll make me believe that the defense now has at least settled that part. They've figured out how to take the ball away, and that really is Pete Carroll's main thing. He's like, tackle the guy, like keep the ball in front of you. Number one thing, find a way to get the ball back for the offense. That affects the game huge. So there you go. That's the offensive scoring in the second half. I mean, that's kind of traditional Seahawks ball until this year.
It's interesting that we even have this conversation because we talked about what was likely to happen in this game, what was unlikely to happen. I don't think we're surprised that the offense finally started scoring in the second half. I mean, 13 points, and they more than doubled it, or almost doubled it, by scoring 21 in the second half this time. I think the biggest concern it's not for me that defense causing turnovers, but is it because they just know the Niners so well? They've seen this offense before. They know what they like to do, and it's just like a comfort thing. So, we've talked about this. I know Ryan Davis, he's talked about this a lot as well. The Seahawks are built to beat NFC West teams, and this is a great example of an NFC West team. These Niners are kind of like a team that Seattle has been able to handle no matter who they've thrown out. Their coach, their quarterback, offensive personnel, whatever. Seattle's been able to play them very well, and they have a great record against them. I wonder if that's more of the issue, more so than the defense just creating timely turnovers or, just being familiar. But I think it's not a surprise that the offense finally scored. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that as the season continues, but I think that question mark still lingers, and I think that's the thing that's most concerning, is that our questions were not answered, and I don't know if they will be until we get a little bit more idea of what this team actually is.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know if that's more concerning, though, the fact that we still don't have an answer definitively, if this is like the turn that the team needed to make, or if there's something to be said about playing Jimmy G for a half and then playing Trey Lance for another half. Because I know that Trey Lance put up 2 touchdowns, but I wasn't overly impressed with what he did. I thought he played as poorly as Jimmy G did. Yeah, he has 2 touchdowns to his name, but it took him 1 busted play, credit to them for taking advantage, but the drive to score that second touchdown, it took them a ton of plays, a ton of clock, and it took them, I want to say, 3 fourth down conversions to do it. And if not for the holding calls, they would have been definitely like kicking themselves, and they wouldn't have been able to convert. But that's my biased view.
That's fair. I'm a Trey Lance believer. I think the guy's got a ton of potential, but I do think it was a bit of a gift for us to to get him in that game. Pretty obviously not super prepared. I don't think he was game ready. I think he's got a lot of learning to do, but I think that I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how things may have gone if Jimmy G had played the whole game. Again, not that he's a world beater or anything, but Trey Lance was fairly obviously not quite ready.
Ross, what about you? Really quickly before we move to topic number 2, what was your takeaway from Trey Lance? Are you a Trey believer?
Trey believer, Al. I mean, he's a work in progress. They have a package for him, but all of a sudden he was the guy, and that's never ideal for your first time out. I think he has some potential, though. I mean, he scored on us twice. It's the modern NFL. I'm not sure how much that means anymore. But, I mean, I don't know. I need to know more still. It was such a weird situation for him to have to come in and take over. I was actually kind of interested in seeing if they might do something sort of like the Chicago Bears do. Just go, okay, well, that was it. He's now been in a game and he handled himself okay, so that's just going to be the guy now. But apparently not. So we'll see. But I'm not afraid of the dude yet, but I'm not discounting the dude yet. So I guess I'm agnostic.
I think that's fair. I think if you're the number 3 quarterback in the pick in the draft, you need to show a little bit more than you did. There's definitely more time, but I think, like you both said, not scared yet. I'm not sure what he brings that's really gonna make the team really scary. So more than happy to see it prove wrong. Obviously not the Seahawks' expense, but we'll see. But let's move on to topic number 2. So, Ross, I need to know, is Shane Waldron instilling you with confidence that he is the OC for the job, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks? Is this what you expected from a Sean McVay disciple?
I mean, no, but probably, yeah. Let's put it in. Okay, so when they name him and you're kind of hoping for the world. There's your hopes and then your realistic expectations, and he hasn't met all my hopes and dreams, if I can quote Napoleon Dynamite. He definitely has not. It's been rough. There have been games where he called the game that's exactly the same as Schottenheimer. There have been times where he's done bevel play calls, and I'm like, oh, what was the big deal about it? But that dude's a young dude, and he's this will be his 5th game. So I'm still willing to let him grow into the job. I don't think I did my job the best ever when I was 5 weeks into it. I don't think I did my best ever job meeting when I was in my 5th meeting or my training sessions or whatever. So, on the other hand, it's the NFL. This is a billion-dollar business and hundreds of millions here and there, depending on your every decision, sort of, the sales and stuff. So, the learning curve has to be sharp. But again, it's early. I'm sort of agnostic with him as well. I can't tell if he's going to be, because there's been some definite signs. Dude, just you were brilliant game 1, week 1. But on the other hand, you had all off season to work on that game plan, didn't you? And game 2 was arguably the worst. There's signs. There are definite signs, but we're going to need that to, if he wants to challenge the master, his old master, if he wants to be the Darth Vader to the Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's going to have to really bring it this week, I think.
Zeb, what about you? Are you confident with Shane Waldron?
I don't know yet. I'm starting to think that it doesn't matter so much who our offensive coordinator is, because I feel like as long as they're competent, Russell's the one out there. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's we keep blaming everything on the OC. Oh, it was Bevel's fault. It was Shoddy's fault. Now we got Waldron. Obviously, it remains to be seen how that's all going to go. But it doesn't feel like the football's much different out there regardless of who's the OC. So I feel like we're playing Russell ball, which I think is and it's Pete trying to contain Russell, trying to get him to make smart decisions and that kind of thing. But like, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know that it's so much about the design of the plays or the play calling as it's just whether or not Russell's able to be successful himself on a play-by-play basis. I don't know. Like, it just doesn't. I just don't know. It doesn't. I don't know enough about how the offense is designed and how the plays are designed and what's supposed to happen versus what actually happens. Which, like, again, as we've seen over the years, nothing's been much different, right? It's Russ. He wants to go deep. We know that. And so our success kind of lives and dies on whether we're able to hit those big plays and, pull out miracle victories in the end. And I don't know how much of that is by design and how much of it is specifically going against the design.
Man, you guys are very generous with your patience. No, I'm not. I don't have any confidence in Shane Waldron. I mean, 0 points in Game 3 in the second half. Unable to run the ball in Game 2 when you're up 2 scores. Starting a game with 5 3-and-outs. I mean, yeah, congratulations. You pulled it out in the second half, but the offense is just so ugly. People want to talk about Russell Wilson saying, well, he's a long-term vet. This is his offense, really. It's like, yeah, that's great. But the highs and lows of this offense are just too much, man. I can't watch this team knowing the talent they have and just see them go 5 straight 3-and-outs. I know they're trying to attack deep. I know they're trying to take advantage of the personnel that they have. And, someone mentioned, you could tell that DK and Tyler Lockett were still banged up. And it's like, well, if they're really banged up, what's our plan with our running game? Like, why have we decided that the running game is so unimportant all of a sudden? We re-sign Chris Carson, who has a neck injury and might not play tomorrow, which is not awesome. But then Alex Collins comes in and looks like a world beater and like the change of pace back that we've always wanted, who catches I think it's like a wheel route on play action. He's got great running. He has the best touchdown of the day with his little flip into the end zone. I just don't know what it is about, whether it's Russ, Pete, or Shane Waldron. I'm not sure what it is that they want. I know what they want to do, but I don't know how they can continue to get there if this is what we're going to see. We're just going to see all these 3-and-outs because they're just going to take shot after shot. They still can't convert on third down. Seattle was still 2 for 10 on third downs. You take out 5 of it from the first 5 3-and-outs. They were still 2 for 5 the rest of the game. So it's not like they were dominating and like picking up the slack later on. So I'm not confident in this offense. I'm not confident in Pete. I'm not confident in Russ that they know what they want to do with the personnel because we haven't seen it yet. The most complete offensive game they had was maybe the opener against Indy, and they didn't score in the third quarter. And they couldn't bleed out the clock. They couldn't, just chew the clock away. So I'm concerned. I'm concerned that Shane Waldron is in over his head, even though it's only 4 games in. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of growth in the next 13 games if the first 4 are any indication.
But you don't think that maybe there's a learning curve to the job?
I think there is definitely a learning curve in the job. But the difference, though,
weeks on a job indicate what you look like in your job 4 months later.
No, and I think that's a fair question to ask. But I will respond with, I don't care. I don't care that you can get better as weeks progress because you only have so many chances to get better now in the game as it is, right?
Well, then you should have been outraged when they hired him, because when you hire a first-time coordinator who's a first-time play caller, and he's like what is he, like 18 years old or something? Can't even buy alcohol yet or something?
Hey, man, he can shave. He's old enough. He's fine.
Okay. Right, but I mean, like, you're getting a first-time coordinator. If you think that you don't want somebody you're going to have to grow into, that you're going to have to break in, then you should be clamoring for the established Shanahans, not okay with the signing from the McVay tree, who's, if McVay himself was 21, you're talking about a high school kid, right? Like, you should have been outraged when they chose him then, right? Because otherwise, like, it's common sense to say, like, the guy, it's the first time everything.
The difference is we didn't know what we were getting when he was hired. There was a lot more opportunity and optimism, but we've seen 4 games now. Like, we haven't seen any consistency in this offense other than they like to go deep. Like, they can't convert a 3rd and short still. Like, we have the most mind-boggling 3rd and short plays. Like, maybe the defense just doesn't want to give us the short, so Russ says, oh, well, they're giving me the long ball, so I'm going to take my shot downfield, and I trust my guys. But that means we're not going to convert, and then that means we put the ball in our defense's hand, and I think that's just a bad decision, and that's not people.
I hate the particular example you gave of, like, with the long pass on 3rd and 4, or 3rd and 3, because that was a staple of Darrell Bevell, and I always thought it was sort of like, it would work sometimes and people would, like, love it, and then, like, when it doesn't work, people hate it, but you can't have both. It's not going to work every time.
And I want to really quickly put that down.
Is like when they're not expecting it, right? So that's actually a time to throw. And you've got the best long ball thrower in the NFL, and you've got DK Metcalf and Lockett, so you've got some of the best deep pass catchers. So I don't. That's a legitimate. Again, it's not going to work every time, but that's legitimate, because if you hit it, that's a touchdown, or that's 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, and we hit it at a better rate than other people.
Right, and the thing though about that is, I would rather they convert and drop plays that's going to give him 2 or 3 options to convert on 3rd down, instead of like, okay, here's our one play to 3rd down, and if it's not there, it's a long ball to DK. Like, that's what I feel we're going for. Like, I feel like we're only giving Russ, like, one option to convert, otherwise we're going to go long. And I feel like that is a recipe for failure, because there's no opportunity for rhythm, there's no opportunity for tempo. Because that's what I feel like we saw once Alex Collins got in the game. Every single time Alex Collins was in the game, when he got meaningful snaps, they scored. It's weird that happens. I don't think it's just because Alex Collins all of a sudden is like the touchdown like guru or metric or whatever you want to call it. But there's something about the way they played with Alex Collins at running back. They were a little bit maybe more willing to run. Chris Carson, I don't think looked very good against the Niners. He had 10 carries, which is, again, it's not a whole lot, but he couldn't do much of anything with them. Whereas Alex Collins, for whatever reason, the offense just looked different. And I don't think that's like the solution. You just go to Alex Collins. My concern is that, like, Shane Waldron still doesn't know what he wants his offense to be.
Well, there's something to that. To me, like, if it's 3rd and 3 and you want to throw long, I'm okay with that. If that also goes with the caveat that on 4th and 3, unless you're way backed up, you go for it. Because if our identity now is we're all in with Russ, and we're bringing in Shane, the Wonder Boy, and we got DK and Lockett, and we have all these weapons, and we have some talent at defense, but we don't know how to use it, so our defense is just there to, like, hold us in the game. If you're going to be an offensive team now, then you got to go all in with that identity and say, like, I trust it. Just like we used to call plays that clearly demonstrated that we were, we had utmost faith in our defense. Because if you're a defensive team, you have to, like, show it, you have to be it. That has to be your identity. If you're going to be an offensive team, then you have to be all in. And on 3rd and 3, and they stack the box because you got Chris Carson, and he's, and they've also got the flats covered because they know you maybe going to do your tight end screens now. Cool. Throw it deep. Fine. But that means 4th down. That's when you actually go get the 4th. If you don't make it, you have to be committed early on to like, okay, it's fourth down territory often.
Right.
You can't, because I suspect actually, because the Rams don't do that. The Rams don't go like deep on 3rd and 3 much. I feel like Shane, he brought his ideas in, but he also, it really apparent to me, he's combed the last few seasons. He's looked through what worked well with Darrell Bevell, because things did go up. Bevell wasn't actually a bad coordinator. He had some flaws and holes, and we outgrew him, but fine. He had some good stuff. And Schottenheimer had some good stuff, actually. I mean, we were amazing last year, the first 5 weeks, right? So I think he's taken the stuff and he's incorporated it in, as he should, because you got to find what Russ likes and what Russ is comfortable with. That's cool. You can incorporate all that in. But again, it has to be part of a holistic plan. And if you're going to be committed to the offense, then those 3rd and 7 bombs, what they have to be connected with is the willingness to go for it on 4th down more, because you're an offensive team now.
And maybe that's the thing that we're missing. Like
you can't do both.
Right. Pete Carroll is very adverse to going for it on 4th down, because it's, if you fail, you give the opposing team great field position more often than not. And I understand that. A lot of people think like go for it all the time, but people don't think about, okay, what happens when you fail? What happens when you don't convert? It's easier to protect 70 yards of field than it is to protect 30 yards of field. So I understand
that's cool
that.
if you're a defensive team, but if you're an offensive team, then you have to flip it. You have to go like, I trust you to get 3 yards.
And I think that's maybe something that we haven't seen happen yet either. And that's a Pete thing.
Adjustment at that level. They have to change their philosophy, is the complete transformation of the philosophy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're a little behind, so we're gonna move ahead. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. So we're gonna go to topic number 3. This is the Hawkscast Corner, and it is rivalry week again with the Rams. And Zeb, I want to know, what's the best rivalry? Is it DK Metcalf versus Jalen Ramsey? Russ in the offensive line versus Aaron Donald? Is it Pete Carroll and Sean McVay? Sean McVay has a very good record against these Seattle Seahawks. But what do you think is the best rivalry in these matchups that we're going to see?
I am personally most looking forward to DK and Jalen Ramsey. I think these guys, we got a couple of young, charismatic, flamboyant, confident, uber talented guys that are they're so well matched, in my opinion, both physically on the field and mentally, and the way they're going to approach this. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see a fight. Hopefully DK can keep cool, and maybe bait Ramsey into committing a penalty or something like that. But I think it's the most potentially entertaining rivalry. Obviously, Russell and Aaron Donald have their history, and then the coaches, like you mentioned. But DK versus Jalen looks to be very exciting and entertaining. I'm most looking forward to that.
Ross, is there a rivalry that sticks out to you that you are looking forward to, that you think is going to be competitive?
I actually am looking forward to the McVay versus Shane thing, and seeing if it becomes a thing. I'm obviously they're both offensive dudes, so it's not like, oh, I'm playing chess my offense versus your defense. But I'm interested in like watching how the drives play out. Do we get the ball first and we march down, and so then McVay pulls out his genius moves and they march down, and so then we pull out our interesting play calls. I'm really interested in seeing week 1. Our offensive coordinator really seemed to dig down and find like an amazing. He showcased everything we were hoping to see. Right, if we had played that same style, your answer for the question number 2 would have been a lot different.
Oh, for sure.
I'm wondering if like playing against his old, his mentor and his the coach who brought him along to the Rams. I'm wondering if that. I'm hoping that brings out sort of like the same level of inspiration in the game plan, and so that we really, really see hey, he has the McVay ideas, but you know what? He combines them, like we said, with the older stuff, and he's got his own ideas as well. And I think it's a really interesting opportunity for him to make his name again, to show us a lot. And I really am looking forward to that rivalry, their offensive thinking versus our offensive thinking in general. I want to see which offense not just executes, but I want to see the creativity. If that's what we're going to be, if that's what the promise is, if that's what Russ wants for us to keep it, if he's going to hold us hostage, then okay, cool. Do we have the guys going to do it? Is that going to be the rivalry? Can we become known for our offensive great? Because we're like you said, we're 4 weeks in and we're not. McVay is known for, he's the offensive guru. We want our guy to potentially be that. Otherwise, what was the point of hiring him? He's not there yet, but he's taken a big step with the extra motivation this week.
Yeah, I think that these Rams, it's interesting that this Rams team, under almost every iteration, has just kind of been a really bad matchup for Seattle. Like going back to the Hasselbeck Holmgren Seahawks, I remember in 2004 we lost to them 3 times in 1 year. We lost to them in the playoffs. I think it's a fun rivalry because the teams are good. It's only worthwhile if a team is good. Does that rivalry feel really, really fun, especially when you win? So I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Of the options that we have presented, I'm most interested in DK versus Jalen Ramsey. There was a lot of talk about DK not having a touchdown against the Rams, and then last year in the playoffs he had a couple, but they weren't against Jalen Ramsey. I'm looking forward to that. I feel like DK is he's got a chip on his shoulder for whatever reason. He's very chirpy this year. He's willing to try and antagonize, and it's gotten him a couple penalties, but I want to see what him and Russ and maybe Shane kind of cook up to see if they can say, look, this is how we're going to take advantage. This is how you're going to get your chances. This is how you're going to get your shot. I think that's the most interesting one because I think it's the most even. Russ on the offensive line versus Aaron Donald, I think it's just a bad matchup for us. Aaron Donald is one of the greatest football players that I think we've ever seen, and he's just a human wrecking ball. You can take 2 people and you can kind of slow him down, but the times that you don't decide to double team him, it often ends bad. So I do want to point out, so if you go to the website hawkscast.net, we have a topic for the Thursday night game, and Mike Dugar of The Athletic, he has kind of chronologically looked at the beef that happened in between the Rams and the Niners. So last year, Jamal Adams, the Seahawks win the NFC West. He's smoking a cigar. The Rams took issue with that. So when the Rams beat Seattle in the wild card game, Jalen Ramsey and a couple of the Rams players were chirping at the sideline and saying, enjoy your cigars, enjoy your vacation. We just sent you home. The Rams lost the following week to the Packers, and Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams on Twitter responded back. Quandre said, "Don't worry, this Cabo sun will thaw you all out. Make sure Buddy with the foggy glasses comes too." It's because they lost in Green Bay. And then Jamal Adams says, "See you all in Cabo," and he added at the Rams Twitter account, "And make sure you bring your own damn cigars too." So this is going to be a fun matchup. It's a primetime game. It's the only game that's going to be on. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is a fun rivalry because it has been a little bit skewed. Obviously, the Rams have gotten better at Seattle in the past few years, but I think this is going to be a good matchup. And that DK Ramsey matchup is going to be big. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I sure would like to see DK get the better of him.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see that challenge because we've seen premium matchups in the Seattle past. We've seen like Aaron Rodgers versus a Richard Sherman, and Aaron Rodgers backed down. We've seen that happen with Cam Chancellor. We've seen that when we've had our defensive, all-time greats. We've seen that with Marshawn, where people try to do these things to him, and our guys have come out ahead. I'd love to see DK be that next guy that just like takes over a game one day. And If he does it on Thursday night, it would be even more fun.
I'm not particularly satisfied with DK's progression in this season so far. Like he if he wants to be that top tier wide receiver, he's going to have to start making some of those tough contested catches that he kind of hasn't so far this season. Though it would be great for him to have a nice big breakout game against somebody like Jalen.
Yeah,
I totally
that's
agree
true.
with that.
I mean, DK
Last week he had last week he had that understandable drop, but if you want to be like the elite dude, that's the man. That's the catch that makes your reputation there, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think so. All right. Well, let's move on to the last topic. We've been talking about them all night, but this is topic number 4. Ross, the Los Angeles Rams. I think I'm finally used to calling them that. Is Matt Stafford the guy to take the Rams to the Super Bowl? Is there a player like that for Seattle? Is there a player out there that would just make Seattle an immediate contender? But is Matt Stafford that guy for the Rams this year?
No, I mean Matt Stafford is Andrew Luck, right? He's good. He's an upgrade on Goff on paper. He's got statistics. He'll make them statistically better, but this ain't baseball. I really actually doubt that. I think when you add Matt Stafford, it rearranges what the numbers look like, and it rearranges a lot of other things. I don't think it actually, in the end, is going to translate to any more wins and losses. I don't think it's that easy. You're getting better quarterback play. It should be, in theory, better. I don't know. He's a numbers guy. You can run a different kind of offense. You can trust him with more stuff you throw. But I don't think you're necessarily. I think you're making lateral movements as far as wins and losses and success. You might look better, but again, like everything's moving parts. And so, like, now you're throwing the ball more, so you're running it less. And so the game is longer, so the other team has the ball longer. You throw the ball more, and you have more completions because they're more, and things. But then, like, you take more time off the clock as you just run more drives. I mean, everything is connected. So it's hard to say. But there's some quarterbacks who win despite not having gaudy numbers. And, you can fault Goff all you want for the boneheaded plays occasionally or the turnovers here and there. But there was something about him that got the job done when he was with the Rams. Never enough to the degree. I mean, like, McVay clearly wanted, like, an elite quarterback. But I really don't think he's the type that where it translates into wins. He's never won a playoff game. Yeah, he was with the Lions, I get it. But everybody tells me that all you need is a quarterback. And most of the time, even I when I'm looking at my matchups and I'm deciding who's going to win or lose a game, I mostly just tell me who's the quarterback. And that's the go point. Then modify it by defenses and skill players. But, the Lions had Stafford for 9 years, 10
12
years.
12 years.
12, oh my God. How can I be that old? Yeah, they had him for 12 years. They never won a playoff game. I don't think he's the answer. I think it'll look prettier. I think the numbers will look amazing. And Cooper Kupp's going to get a giant contract whenever his contract's up because of this, because that's his favorite dude. But I don't think it actually will even translate even a bit into more wins at all. As far as what would help the Seahawks get to the Super Bowl, I think we had our chance yesterday. Well, today, is that still today for you guys?
It's still Wednesday over here.
So, Stephon Gilmore, how many weeks have I talked about the fact that Jamal Adams will be much more effective at being Jamal Adams if you've got the right cornerback, and then the right cornerback becomes available, and he goes for a 6th round pick in 2023, and apparently we weren't even in the running. That was the dude. That was it right there. You get him, you get better cornerback play. That better cornerback play lets Jamal Adams be Jamal Adams, and you get better rush, you get better middle coverage. That was the domino effect you wanted right there. It was sitting right there. I've talked about it. I mean, not that I'm the end all, but still, like my own personal opinion, I've wanted this for 5 weeks since the preseason. I've been saying, if you're going to pay Jamal Adams, then you have to have the right cornerbacks. And one was sitting right there. I'm glad this topic let me say that. Thank you. That was the most frustrating thing to watch play out yesterday. Like, okay, he's available. And I was actually, I really thought it was like I wasn't sure we were going to get him, but I thought like there was a pretty good chance. I was like, okay, we're in it. We're not, what, 6th round, not even next year, 6th round of 2023. We gave up a 6th round of 2022 to get Jones. Like, Gilmore's better than, he was the MVP, well, defensive MVP, whatever, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's worth more than Jones. You just got on Jones's case after the last game. So how can you not be willing to give at least the same amount for somebody who's much better? Unless like there's something behind them. Maybe he's like if I go to Seattle, then I want the renegotiated contract now. Maybe that was it. I don't know.
There was, just to throw a little bit of cold water on that, is the rumor is that if Stephen Gilmore hit free agent, he wanted equivalent to a $15 million contract for just this year.
But he didn't. They traded for him.
But the early reports was that he was released, and that is what facilitated a trade because the market was hot for him. So that's why it's such a low pick. Round of 2023. Bill Belichick would have taken like a 4th rounder next year. I agree. I'm just trying to add a little bit of more context because I had a lot of people that said like, he's already gone? He's already going to Carolina? So Birdfinger chiming in on the chat says, I don't think he wanted to come to Seattle. And I think that's...
But he doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have a no-trade clause agreement. He wasn't a free agent. He was under contract for the Patriots. He doesn't have a choice.
I understand. I'm not refuting what you're saying. I'm just providing some additional context that's out there.
I get that probably this wasn't his first choice to play, but you know what, dude? Like, just finish the year. You're out of New England. Then next year you get a big, huge contract somewhere else. That's cool. Well, I'll take the 1-year rental for like a 5th rounder. Cool, whatever, man. Like, how can we not have done that? I don't. Again, it's not 2 + 2 is 4. It's 3 × 3 is 9. Like, you add a dude that makes everything else better around you, and that would have been a huge, huge thing for us, in my opinion.
I do not disagree.
Like, how much better is your blitzing strong safety if you actually don't have to worry about leaving a cornerback on an island? Yeah. Oh God, it's so basic.
Look, I'll get John Schneider on speed dial as soon as we're done here. Zeb, what about you? Is Stafford the guy that's going to all of a sudden vault the Rams into legit Super Bowl contention? And is there a guy that Seattle could have gotten that could have done the same for them?
I'm going to disagree with Ross about Stafford. I do actually think he is good enough to take the Rams to the next level. And I actually really like his Andrew Luck comparison. And I think those are the kind of quarterbacks. They're not going to be top 3 necessarily, top 5, maybe statistically. You know, Stafford is known for throwing a lot of yards. But I think they're upper tier guys. When with the right squad around them, I think they totally can put it all together. Look, the Rams went to the Super Bowl with Goff and
scored 30 points.
Yeah,
the most boring Super Bowl in
the
history of Super Bowls.
Yeah, and I think Stafford is a far superior quarterback to Goff. And I think the Rams do have a good squad. So I'm not saying they're my Super Bowl favorite or anything like that, but I feel like they're the type of team that if they do get on a run late in the season, we could very well be watching them play in the Super Bowl. You know, it's easy to say, you know, Stafford struggled because he was in Detroit. But I think there's a lot of truth to it. That's just a team where even world class, you know, arguably best ever at their position go and just live in mediocrity. That's just the way that organization is. It just is a place where good players fail.
But I mean, he went to Detroit and he was throwing to Golladay and Tate for a while, and even Marvin Jones. I mean, underrated dude. And like, okay, there's the numbers, but like, I
well, what? Yeah, but you're making my point. Like, they even with good players, they fail there because they don't ever put it together in all three phases.
But aren't we told again and again and again that all you need is like the winning quarterback? If you've got like the great quarterback, then like that's what you need. Once you have the great quarterback in place, everything else just.
I don't know. Are we told that? I think I've been told defense wins championships.
I've been told I can't get rid of Russell Wilson because that's all you need. Like you just need Russell Wilson. That gives you a chance every year. So shouldn't Stafford have given the Lions a chance every year?
No, no, because it's not true. The fact of the matter is, you need a certain level player at quarterback, and the better that quarterback is, the less you can have on other aspects. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have a defense that can't stop other teams from scoring,
I'm going to remind you of this next time I want to get rid of Russell Wilson first.
But it's not mutually exclusive.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. I know. I see it.
Stafford clearly at this point in the season elevates the Rams. He makes them a better team.
I will go on record right now and say Stafford never wins more than one playoff game in a season with as long as he plays the game.
Hey, that's fair. I think it's a bold prediction, and I like it.
I will put my nickel on the table, and if I'm right, you give me a dime.
I'll give you a quarter if the Rams don't win a playoff game this year. How about that?
Wow. Okay.
A whole quarter.
Whole quarter. Not Canadian. I want a real U.S. currency.
I'll give you a loony. I'll give you a Canadian loony. Is there a player that could do that for the Seahawks? Yeah, absolutely there is, and he's already on the roster, and his name is Travis Homer.
I knew it.
I'm not going to go in. I actually absolutely agree with Ross about Stephon Gilmore, and I do think he would elevate the defense, but it's not happening. It's over. There's no reason to dwell on it at this point. It didn't happen. It's not going to happen. It's over.
Can I dwell for like 12 more hours?
You can dwell on it, but
you know, as long as the game starts, can I have something to dwell on?
As long as you want to.
Here's another thing you can think about, Ross. Stephon Gilmore still can't play for 2 more games, so we're not going to see him until at least week 7. So you got until that time to think of what could have been.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Matt Stafford is kind of like one of those mirrors. Like it's a trick mirror. You see what you want to see, and if you think he's bad, then you don't think he's going to add much. But if you think he's good, then it's like, oh yeah, that's a missing piece. I'm kind of in the middle between both of you. I think Matt Stafford is definitely better than Jared Goff, but probably for the reasons that are not going to necessarily be great for the Rams. The fact that he's willing to sling it is always a great thing, but that also means that you're going to be more prone to give up interceptions. There's not one thing about Matt Stafford that I think is like the best ever. He's been to 1 Pro Bowl. He's been to the playoffs once. He lost to Seattle in that playoff game. Was that when I were there? He has enough of a track record that you know what he's going to be like. And maybe this is his MVP year, kind of like with Matt Ryan when, the Atlanta Falcons were just like unstoppable offensively. Yeah, maybe this is like the missing piece for this Rams team because, they had a really, really strong defense. I don't think their defense is as good as it was last year. But yeah, maybe this is just the small minor upgrade. If they make this trade maybe 2 years ago, then yeah, I think that the Rams would have been a much stronger lock for a Super Bowl win if they had Matt Stafford versus Jared Goff. I think that's very clear. But Matt Stafford was probably also available 2 years ago just as he was in this past offseason. So teams weren't willing to make that trade 2 years ago, but for whatever reason, at 33 years old, they decided like, yeah, this is the time to go get Matt Stafford. I really don't see what the big appeal is. He's definitely better than Goff, but I don't know if he's not like a top tier quarterback. Like, I wouldn't put him in my top 10. Yeah, sure, as a fantasy quarterback.
A lot of people think he is. A lot of people think essentially put the right stuff around him. He's not that different from like Peyton Manning. He's like a pure thrower.
But the people that are going to compare a Matt Stafford to a Peyton Manning aren't looking at what he did. If Matt Stafford was as good as Peyton Manning in Detroit, Peyton Manning played on some awful indie teams, right? But people forget that because he won games. Yeah, it took him a while to win his first playoff game, but he eventually won them.
You should be 100% on my side, not in the middle, because
here's the reason why I'm more in the middle. I do think Sean McVay is a very good offensive-minded coach, and I think that he will be able to maximize Matt Stafford better than the inconsistency that Matt Stafford saw in Detroit. Very similar to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan had a bunch of different coaches, a bunch of offensive coordinators that really made it very inconsistent. This is the one chance, and this is really the best chance that Matt Stafford's going to have to see a level of consistency that he's not seen in his entire career.
Can I say one last thing? Sorry.
Of course.
Here's the problem I think I find with McVay, and here's the problem why I think that he kind of chased fool's gold. While he's exactly correct that Stafford's the perfect quarterback for his system, but here's like the flaw in the logic. If you break it down, I sometimes bring this up. You didn't read the book, I don't think, but did you watch the movie Moneyball?
Yeah, I've read both the book and I've watched the movie.
Okay, so in the movie, there's that scene, like it's made up, but they want to make the point where like Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt are like talking secretly like in the parking garage, and Jonah Hill like lays it out like baseball thinking is medieval, what you need to be buying is not players, it's points, right? So I believe that McVay's offense is structured on successful acquiring of yards, moving the ball down the field again and again and again and again, and with the assumption that always will lead to points. And if that's the offense you want to run, Stafford is right. Like, you're going to make, those slants. He can throw those slants. He can throw the digs. He can throw everything. And he can be pretty accurate. And every once in a while, he'll throw an interception. But that's actually not how you win games. You win games by scoring points. And it's not always the same thing. Like, watch the Seahawks, right? We are a missed extra point away from being 3-1 right now, actually.
Yeah.
And we've done it with smoke and mirrors sometimes, it looks like. But it's because even now, Pete Carroll's focused on possessions of the ball and scoring, not yards, on scoring. And it's a subtle, but it's an important difference. And that's why I think it's different. Like, Goff and Stafford are primarily different between the 20s and then like efficiently getting yards. They don't necessarily score you any more points over the other, in my opinion. And I think if you look closely, you'll see, like, for example, Goff's record right now with the Lions, they don't look any much different than if it was Matt Stafford. The record's 1-3. The yards are roughly kind of what you'd expect with what they've got. They got rid of Galladay. They got rid of Tate, obviously, a couple years ago. They don't have any receivers, but they're still 1-3, and he's efficient and he's doing fine. They're not really that different, except between the 20s gathering yards. But that's not how you win. You actually have to score the points. And you can actually shorten the game so you're limiting your points. You can shorten the game so you're missing opportunities. There are times you just want to be able to do other things. And I think McVay's sort of kind of, like, look at the numbers. Like, they're throwing to Kupp over and over again, but not throwing to Woods much. But Woods is the guy who's going to get you the points. Kupp's going to get you first downs. And that's not a perfect correlation. So if I'm making the point, it's something that's better to write out. Maybe I'll write it on the website later, perhaps, if I have time tonight. But that's just the flaw I see. Like, you've gotten this guy who's going to move the ball a lot, but he's also going to like throw the ball, interceptions every once in a while. He's still going to fumble. That's part of Stafford's game just as much as his Goff's, really, almost. And that's where you got the flaws. If you end up with one less possession per game than the other team, on average, you're going to lose. So that's why I just don't think that Stafford's going to translate into much more success for them. Maybe, like I said, I could see him winning a playoff game there. Like, Zeb's not I don't want to say I don't believe what Zeb's saying at all. It's true. He's in a better position. He's got a better supporting cast, got a better defense. So that should be something. So yeah, like the Rams, are Super Bowl contenders even without him. So they're not going to regress with him. I just don't think it's a Super Bowl jump for them at all. If that makes any sense.
I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say that. Really quick, I'm going to wrap up. The player that I think the Seahawks could use, it wouldn't even have to be this player. It just needs to be a running back that can run the ball and who's not injured. I'm really concerned that Chris Carson is not going to be that guy this year. He hasn't looked
chronic injury.
He hasn't looked great. We've talked about his injuries. I'm happy that they re-signed him because he's just a comfort blanket to a degree, but he has just not looked good this year. Birdfinger on the chat says Nick Chubb instead of Penny. I feel like that's such an overemphasized point. I hate the idea that we're gonna just like rehash misses in the draft because if you could go back in time, you could pick every All-Star, every All-Pro, every Pro Bowler, but that's not how it works. And Nick Chubb had an injury history, which is why people didn't take him. There's a lot of guys that Seattle could have drafted instead. Penny obviously being a terrible example. LJ Collier being a guy that has been a healthy scratch twice already. Pete and John are of the mindset it doesn't matter how we acquire them. We wanted to acquire them, and we did, and that's the players we have. So if I felt that there was a player that could really make this team better and make it a Super Bowl contender, it would be definitely a premium running back. That's what I think would be one of the marquee things. Maybe second to that would be a center. I'm not excited about Kyle Fuller against Aaron Donald. I think that's a bad matchup, so hopefully he gets a lot of help.
Hopefully it's more like Gabe Jackson versus that.
I mean, we saw when TJ Fluker took on Aaron Donald, and that was great. Maybe we'll see that. But yeah, if Kyle Fuller's left one-on-one, that's a bad matchup. Final thoughts about the Rams?
A much more even history between the Seahawks and the Rams than it was with the 49ers. While we've dominated the Niners essentially for decades, Seahawks are 25-22 against the Rams. And two of those games that the Rams won were playoff games. We've never beat them in the playoffs. So, and they've had our number to a certain degree as of late. They've been one of the few teams during this Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson run that have been able to beat us fairly consistently. So, kudos to them for that, I guess. Sons of bitches. But
I mean, it's been, I think the last 2 years they split the regular season, and 3 years ago is when we lost twice in the regular season. But losing the playoff game definitely hurts that average.
We haven't swept them in a season since 2013, and they've swept us twice, both in 2015 and in 2018. So, the way I look at that is, I think we're due for a good win against them.
I like it. We're wearing action green. We're 4-0 in action green, so always a positive.
Yeah.
What are they wearing?
They wear their white
dirty
jerseys.
Dirty white.
I'm not a fan of the blue that they have. I like the color blue they use, but they put it on this hyper vinyl that's really reflective and really shiny, and I think it makes it look very cheap, very high school trying to be flashy as opposed to just being a good uniform.
I really don't like their white or gray. What is it?
No, I think their current uniforms are garbage. I was a big fan of the old school
the old
LA Rams,
the old yellow and blues, man.
Yeah. Those were the great. They could just enhance the color and just go with those old school Ram horns. Those are the ones. If I were gonna pick a uniform for them, those are the ones I would have gone for.
Yeah, they really screwed the pooch here with these new unis, didn't they?
It's they're trying to jazz up their uniforms to go with their fancy stadium, I guess. Yeah. All right, well, that's our topic. So let's move on to some predictions. So last week, Ross and I poorly predicted a loss. Ross had 28-31 Niners. I had 21-24 Niners. Zeb correctly predicted a win. He had it at 31-30. So Seahawks won by more than 1 point, but Zeb is our winner for last week. So Zeb, what is the final score for the Rams and the Seahawks tomorrow night?
Seahawks 34, Rams 26.
Whoa, that's a shootout. Ross, what you got?
I was actually going with the score. I was going to say.
You're going to have to price is right him.
Yeah, let me think. Let's go 31-28 Seattle, just because of the prime time thing.
Okay. Wow, you guys are going for the 30s. Ugh, man, I don't know if I'm... let's go 27-20 Seahawks. I think that... I'm putting positive thoughts out there. I think the Seahawks are going to play well offensively, and I hope the defense plays well. It's maybe a little bit of smoke and mirrors, but just be hopeful. Zeb, who's going to win the one-on-one? Who's going to be, if you're going to declare a winner one-on-one, is it going to be DK or Jalen Ramsey?
I'm going with my heart here and not with my head, and I'm going to say DK.
Ross?
DK.
I'm going to go with Ramsey. I think it's really going to open it up for whatever running game we use and Tyler Lockett. I think that's where the opportunities are going to be, or it's going to be when DK is not covered by Ramsey that he's going to get his chances. Zeb, who's going to have more sacks, Aaron Donald or the Seahawks?
The Seahawks.
Nice. Ross?
I agree with that.
You know, if the refs don't swallow their whistle and call a holding penalty, it's going to be the Seahawks. If they're not going to call the holding, then I think Aaron Donald's going to get it. Who's going to have more touchdowns, Zeb, Russ or Matthew?
Russell.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Russ too. I think this is a great opportunity. It's prime time. He's been playing well this season, and I want him to keep that confidence up. Who's going to have more rushing yards? Is it going to be the Seahawks or the Rams?
Seahawks.
Rams?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams too. I think the Seahawks have been really inconsistent. You know, they ran the ball pretty well in the last game, but I don't know if they're there yet, especially if Carson's not going to be there. I'm not sure how they're going to get it done. Zeb, who's going to have more passing yards, Lockett and Metcalf or Kupp and Woods?
Those Rams guys by a little bit.
Zeb, what about Russ? You going for the Rams as well?
Yeah, I just think this time we spread it out. I'm looking for a big game from our tight ends.
I mean, if we could see Disley and Parkinson and Everett, if he's playing, get involved, I think that would really open things up a lot more in the passing and the running game. But yeah, I kind of feel like Matt Stafford is just in love with Cooper Kupp. Like, he is on pace for like a bajillion targets this year. So I think just by default, Kupp and Woods are going to get more yards. And the second to last prediction is yay or nay action green uniforms.
This is a prediction?
No, this is just a yay or a nay. It's not a prediction. It's just your thoughts.
I love them. I love the action greens. My only problem is I don't remember on certain networks they look yellow the way that, you know.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're not yellow. They're amazing and they're beautiful and I love them.
Ross?
I hate them. I hate them. I know. I mean, it's the whole get off my lawn generation thing, but sorry, I hate them. I hate them.
The only reason why I hate them is that they have to use their blue helmets with the green uniforms. I really wish they would change that stupid rule about having to have the same helmet the entire year. I think it's just...
I think they did for next year.
Yeah, I think they changed
next year they're going to change it, which would be amazing to bring back the old school silver helmets. But Yeah, just the blue helmets with the green. I think it makes it look dumb. I'm not a fan. And the final prediction, which I didn't put on the show sheet, this is just a prediction for the year. We are going to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is Urban Meyer going to be the coach by the time the Seahawks face the Jaguars this year?
When do we play them?
I want to say we play them at the end of this month.
Halloween game.
Yeah.
I think they'll have a new coach by then.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, I do too. I can't stand Urban Meyer. But yeah,
he sure doesn't seem to. He seems to like be totally okay with it, everybody hating him and getting run out of town at this point. So
I mean, if they fire him for a morality issue, he'll lose a ton of money. But yeah, he'll get a job somewhere for sure.
I mean, I don't really. The girl or the girls or whatever in the bar or whatever, like, for me, that's neither here nor there.
I don't care about that at all. I care that he didn't.
Like, you didn't take the airplane back with your team, dude.
Yeah.
Like, your team's 0-4, and you're like, yeah, guys, I gotta go to the bar. I gotta decompress.
I gotta go to my restaurant.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, like, you can't lead a team like that. Not of professionals.
No, not at all. But. That is our show. I think that's going to be a really good prediction. We'll have to make sure to catch up on that come the end of this month. But gentlemen, that's our show, and it's time for some shout-outs. Tell us where they can find you on Twitter and who you want to give a shout-out to.
My name is Zeb, and you can find me at Zebulondak on Twitter. And shout-out to J. Robert Oppenheimer.
What? Behold, I am the destroyer of worlds. I'm Ross, and I'm looking up what my Twitter information is. Apparently, I'm at Vader the More on Twitter. You can find me there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Shout out to the people getting their third vaccine booster now. Just keep the momentum going. People, get your first and second if you haven't. If you're in that age range, get your third. Let's just beat this, man.
Nice. You can catch me at SammyC521 at Twitter. Shout out to Birdfinger, shout out to Can Hawk, and to Ryan Davis on Twitter as well for always engaging. We are the Hawkscast.net podcast. You can catch us at Seahawks Podcast, Seahawks Forum. Go to our website, Hawkscast.net. With me as always is Zeb and Ross. We're excited for this Thursday night game. Peace out, Bird. We wish you all a Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Hawks.